Hello, and welcome to Bitstorm, a comedy game design podcast by two guys who know nothing about comedy nor game design. I'm Trevor Scott, and with me, as always, is my podcast partner in crime, Ben Slinger.
Good evening. For 4 years, as of today, since we released our very first podcast episode,
Yes.
Not of this podcast, of our previous podcast, Two Sweary Dads, but we haven't missed a week since then. So
Been late a couple of times, like
or most times that I edit, but never missed a week. So go us. And if you're listening to this for the first time, go you to our backlog and listen to them.
Please forgive how bad the audio sounds back then, but it's a lot better now, so see where we got new
we've
mics.
gone through multiple microphone setups since then.
I'm happy with our current setup, given that we've got the same mics and same headphones.
Yeah, and the same sensibilities when it comes to video games. So let's make some.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we are going to play a little game we call Click Picture. We like to start our episodes with this. And this is where one of us grabs a random stock photo from a Bored Panda Funny stock photos list. And we're going to paste it into the Discord so we can see it. And we're going to come up with a game design based on whatever weird random shit is in this picture. We've had some very odd stuff in the past. So I believe Trevor has one ready to go.
I do. 3, 2, 1, click.
Okay, this one's fairly simple. Man in a business suit, sitting bum first, like torso and legs out, bum in a garbage can, sitting on a laptop.
With a laptop.
Yep. And sort of looking sheepish at the camera or sort of embarrassed, like he's been caught.
Yeah, I'm wondering if this is like the early days of Oscar the Grouch.
That's where I was going. Oscar the Grouch. Is this... Are you saying that... Are you saying that...
Oscar the Grouch was an internet millionaire who then lost all his money and turned green when he turned green with envy.
No, I think there was an industrial accident or something. I think we have to have a whole... This is the origin story of Oscar the Grouch.
We just don't know it yet.
We just don't know it yet. It's a guy named Oscar. He's pretty cheery. He's, inventive. He's creative. He's got these grand ideas. He wants to make his way in the world, earn his fortune.
It's in the late 1990s. The .com bubble hasn't burst yet.
Exactly, yes.
And he's a web developer.
Yeah, he is coming up with this new fangled thing called the World Wide Web. And he's not coming up with it. It already
exists in the late 80s. He's in the late 90s.
Sorry, he's not coming up with it. He's coming up with something for this new... it's not that... It's relatively newfangled to the rest of the world, right? Like, the mid to late 90s, it's all blowing up.
You can tell he's got early Wi-Fi. So, like...
Well, we can't go too canon on this picture because he's got a MacBook, which is definitely like late 2000s. And would have snapped his legs if it was actually, late 90s. Yeah. So let's just take him as webdeveloper.com boom. What is the product he comes up with? Is it something related to garbage? Is it like some sort of ratemygarbage.com?
I think it is like the internet's recycle bin.
Oh, okay.
Sort of thing. He thought, well, you know how on the Windows desktop and on the Mac desktop you've got like the rubbish bin or the recycle bin. Mm-hmm. The World Wide Web needs one of these. So you can basically anyone out there can sort of put any website into the recycle bin.
And it deletes it from the internet.
Well, no, if enough people vote for it to be deleted.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so it's kind of... It's a way to like downvote a website. It's the early days of fucking Dig and Reddit and Slashdot where you could downvote things. Okay.
Yeah. And so he calls it the recycle bin because things can be brought back and can be recycled.
Okay, so if enough people vote for something, then they have an intervention with the person who made this site, and they're like, you can bring it back, but it has to be better. You have to upcycle it.
Yeah. And this is all on GeoCities.
I think he, depending on who gives him a better deal, he goes back and forth between GeoCities and Angelfire. Really?
Yeah, I suppose they were two big website providers for the general public back in the day.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Angel Fire does make sense.
It started off on his ozemail.com.au/tilde recycle bin /index.htm.
By Oscar the Cheery.
That's his name's Oscar Cheery.
Okay. Then he finds out that he was adopted.
And that he's actually a furry monster?
No.
Oh, to change the last name? No, I think when he becomes Oscar the Grouch, that's just a descriptor then. That's just...
Okay, it's just a descriptor.
Yeah.
So, Oscar Cheery, the Grouch. So, I like the idea that, like, the GeoCities recycle bin was hosted on Angel Fire and the Angel Fire recycle bin was hosted on GeoCities.
So is this one of those games that's, like, played all in your virtual screen, perhaps?
Definitely. I like that a lot.
You've got, like, low-quality webcams that you can use to see yourself, so you can... or like...
Potato cams.
Yeah. You can, you see you're fucking sexting on IRC. You upload a photo of yourself.
32 by 32 pixels.
Yeah. 3-frame animated GIF.
God, I remember how bad those were in the late 90s.
Okay, and so let's get to the end because I feel like this isn't actually doesn't have much depth or gameplay to it. What is it that turns him green and furry? Like, what is this? Is this sort of a Howard Hughes situation? Does he exile himself from society? Because
I kind of like the idea that he does, like, exile himself and all this sort of stuff, and he goes through some maybe controversial procedures that he gets done on his body for, like, body modifications.
Okay. He's got some sort of body dysmorphia caused by the trauma of losing millions of dollars. I don't know. And he's trying to bring himself into line with, but it goes terribly wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Maybe that's what he wanted to look like. That's fine. Also,
not to yuck his yum.
Yeah. And then one day he meets this tall yellow bird who brings him out of his slump and says, "Hey, come move to New York City. Got a great apartment for you. It's only $3,000 a month." And he gets there and there's a garbage can.
Yeah.
Because that's the cost of the apartments downtown in New York.
Yeah. I saw, just to go on a bit of a tangent.
It's quite an eyesore.
I went and did a bit of a search a little while ago and saw something on Twitter about how Sesame Street has changed in the last, 30 odd years, and how if you look at what it was like in the 70s to what it's like today, the street is extremely clean today. Back in the 70s, it was a dingy, dirty neighborhood.
So Sesame Street's been gentrified? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, it has.
I'm not at all surprised.
Oh, well, you had Gordon there. You had a lot of people from all different walks of life.
Yeah.
They were all to sort of show that everyone from all races are kindly. They're here to help you, all that sort of stuff. And then it's just been cleaned up and cleaned up and cleaned up and turned into, sort of the pile of shit that it is today.
I mean, I haven't seen recent episodes, but yeah, I have heard, particularly the fact that, they were going to be putting new episodes on their paid service or some shit, when the whole point of Sesame Street when it began was that it was, funded by public broadcasting. Anyway.
Well, it's still on PBS. It's just that it's, they literally couldn't afford to make it anymore. Costs went through the roof.
Well, and I'm sure.
So brand new episodes show on the show behind the paywall first, and then go on to PBS a month or so later. So it's not that it doesn't make it there. It's just that
they should just be fucking funding it. That's probably the issue. Is they're just the public funding to the arts is probably cut. There's no real.
We can talk, given that the arts are part of roads now in Australia.
Oh, no, I'm not. I'm not trying to say we're any better, certainly.
Jesus Christ. Anyway, 3, 2, 1, click. We're going to play a game called Click Pitch. We're off the rails already. Click Pitch is a game where we each have a random phrase generator in front of us, because that's what I've decided that we're going to do.
Sure.
And do ramped up Click Pitch. We've got an adjective and a noun. On 3, 2, 1, click. We click refresh. We get those words. We throw them at each other, come up with the game design, then rinse, repeat until the end of the episode. Then we do another click picture. 3, 2, 1, click.
Excused Mike.
Marked toad.
Okay. This is a karaoke bar.
Set in Wind of the Willows.
Yes, for animals. That's exactly where I was going.
Yep.
I don't know quite how. Yeah, I guess Wind of the Willows are relatively anthropomorphic. Like they wear clothes and stuff. So yeah, I'm just trying to. Like I've got that image in my head basically of just a toad singing fucking karaoke, and I'm trying to bring that into some sort of game. Is this a relationship game based around singing?
Yeah. I like the idea that Mr. Toad, he owns this karaoke bar. Like, this is many years after, everything happened in Wind in the Willows and like
Toad
things have sort
whatever.
of, yep. What's actually happened is, he's fallen on dark times to keep his extravagant lifestyle going. He bought into this karaoke bar to try and like supplement his income.
Yep.
And so it's a management game of all things.
Okay.
Like, I know I don't quite often go to these sort of things, but I like the idea that it's actually you're having to manage karaoke machines, make sure that they're always maintained. Make sure that you've got different booths for different groups of people. And
yeah, that's cool. I like that idea that you've got your space and you can lay it out in different ways. You can, if you wanted, you can just make it one big like more public karaoke space with a stage and a bar, or you can split it up into the smaller kind of more private karaoke booths
rooms
of different sizes and rent them out for different prices, and have basically room service, as it were, like waiters going around bringing drinks between them. But yeah, there can be strategy around like where do you place the bar, and like, how do you manage the karaoke machines to make sure people don't get frustrated that they didn't get to sing or whatever.
And then you can, have different things about royalties and all this sort of stuff that you got to pay for like, the good quality karaoke tracks.
Right.
And
like
make sure that you got the licenses for it. Yeah. Compared to, very cheaply.
Yeah. Or just
designed
like the
with bad
random stock photo backgrounds and stuff.
Yeah. With really, really bad sync up and all this sort of stuff.
Right. I like the idea of mixing this up a little bit. So it's sort of a fairly light management game. Like I feel like you're not going too deep into it, but then you have some building time, and then you have almost more of a, like those restaurant management games where you've got your evening, you play like the Friday and Saturday night of that week. And then it's like, I don't think necessarily serving drinks, but it's like dealing with, like the keg's empty. So, okay, you got to like click over there and do that. And there's a fight breaking out over here. But how drunk people get, how many songs they get to do, like all that stuff is sort of based on how you've laid this place out and what prices you've set the drinks and all that sort of thing.
But also, if you want to wind down, well, guess what? We've actually paid for a license, and you can use our state-of-the-art karaoke yourself, and you can do karaoke. Like it's a game within a game.
Okay, and you get to like choose the character, goes up on stage.
Yeah, we've actually talked to Sony, and we've repurposed SingStar for this, so it's Mr. Toad's SingStar. And effectively, we've got a good quality license through talking with Spotify.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's just okay. Spotify should dabble in karaoke. Actually, like they should put out as a bonus. You get the karaoke bundle and you get karaoke tracks for this.
Why
all the songs?
Wouldn't they? Like, I don't get why they haven't done this.
Because they haven't had the gaming platform necessary to really push it, and now we've got it. It's a Wind in the Willows licensed karaoke bar game where you get to use the character creator, create your own English-based animal, prim and proper, or like
Badger
chavish or whatever, however you want to do it, right? And you sing and you manage this place, and when people play fucking the one song too many times, you can ban it and.
Oh yeah,
or
but
you can
don't
enforce
ban the
last song. Whenever anyone sings "Closing Time" by Semisonic, that's the end of the night, even if it's the first song up. Like, that's the rule.
Closing time.
You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. I know who I want to take me home. All right, 3, 2, 1, click.
Oh, God.
We need to do a challenge episode where we end every click pitch on a song.
Less household.
Less household?
Yes. LESS.
Windier choreography. A dance-based game is interesting. Well, or not necessarily dance-based. I'm trying to think of where, like, some gameplay around choreography. I kind of like this idea of replaying a certain scene where you have to choreograph the different sort of players in that scene to almost solve a puzzle of how does this, like, final thing play out. Mm-hmm. So I'm almost picturing, and this only really plays into choreography at this point, but I think some of the other words could come into some of the levels. I'm almost thinking of, like, a relatively, like, these mundane situations where shit just hits the fan and you have to play through this little vignette multiple times, and you can just change little things, the behavior of of people in these small ways, and that kind of cascades through, and then it becomes this very choreographed final piece. Maybe it is to music even. Maybe it's to music to sort of make it a bit more interesting, and things tend to happen on the beat. You'd have to really structure these very well. But I'm almost thinking like, okay, a restaurant, and you know, the song starts and, you know, they're doing things like putting down plates on the beat and moving around, and the waitress, whatever. And then something happens, like the waitress falls over. It fucking knocks this person there. Something catches on fire. All this shit happens. Mm-hmm. And
then you, as a VR player,
that could be cool.
You select the person that you want to take over, and you take over their particular part.
Take over their movements,
and you take over their movements. So
That's cool.
You can change it in some way that you're now
Could it be then
flipping the pancake up onto the ceiling and too focused on that?
Yeah.
Now, so that you're actually focused on.
I kind of like this idea then that in that, with the whole song thing, it's almost a rhythm game where as you get to a certain beat, you've got a select number of poses to choose from, and you have to make one of those poses. And that kind of locks in that pose and kind of plays like, okay, and so what's going to happen next based on, that you didn't do the like flip the pancake up in the air pose. You did the like turn around and close the fridge pose or whatever, right? Because if you didn't do that, you know that the waitress on roller skates is going to hit the fridge door while, and she's going to hurt herself. You're not going to catch the pancake. It's going to catch on fire because for some reason it was a very flammable pancake. It was like, pancakes a la
Well, I'm imagining that it lands in a lot of oil that spreads out everywhere.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what catches fire. So
I think every scene that you start with is basically that scene in Community when Troy goes down to get the pizza and comes back and that's everything. That's the end of every scene. It's just like shit's on fire, people bleeding, creepy dolls, whatever. Mm-hmm. And you have to pull that back by doing these VR rhythm-based choreography moves to the music.
Yeah, and the cool thing is, because you've got those 3 articulation points of hands and head, you can actually inverse kinematic it. And
I think you've got basically, I think all you're actually measuring is the position of those 3 things, but it puts you into a pose based on your character. We have a rig that makes that look good. But I like that idea of kind of, you've got the music going, it's like, oh, okay, I need to hit that person, and it kind of zooms you down so that you're almost puppeteering them with your own body. Like, I think you can still see them in front of you. But they follow your movements.
You actually get the puppet strings of you actually having to sort of play and move that hand just over here a little bit more and that sort of stuff.
Oh, you could do it with actual, it's not that they're just following your moves. It's that you are literally attached to them and you're trying to move them in the right way. Or it's
that creepy thing of you giving them that weird, hug where you're holding onto their hands and say, you cut the...
Or it could be a godlike thing where you're literally just moving their limbs and pushing them around. Like I saw a really cool tech demo using the finger tracking stuff, but where it was just like pushing a ragdoll body around that like kept its pose to like really articulate it. But that could be cool too.
Cool. And where does less household come into it?
Well, I think like one of the levels is like, a Monday morning getting all the kids off to school.
And then another one is cleaning up after the party.
Yeah.
Because after the party is the after party.
Yeah, of course. I mean, what else would it be? Or like windier is on a plane. Shit going wrong on a plane and like the fucking windows crash and like smash out and people fly out the window and you got to stop that from happening. And that means you get to play like the flight attendant doing the whole onboarding.
Fuck yeah.
You know, you get to mess with them doing all that stuff. The air mask, the oxygen mask and the seatbelt and if you don't do the showing the exits forward and side and back perfectly, then someone's going to die.
Definitely. 3, 2, 1, click. Okay, this is awesome. I can't wait to see where we go with this one. Future underestimate.
Sonic spank.
No. You just dirtied up my
You
idea.
had a cool like near future high far future high concept.
No, far future high concept, but it's exactly the same as today because it's an underestimated future. The technology got stalled.
Whereas I just have what the internet is full of, and that's Sonic pornography. Either that or it's Guile from Street Fighter. Sonic Spank. Yeah, I'm not sure we're going to get past that. Do you want me to just click again, or should we both click again?
You click again. We'll see whether we can use this for something else.
All right. Impoverished Wonderland. I feel like this is a
really run down Wonderland.
Well, I feel like this is a post-utopic future.
Okay.
In that we got the utopia and then we let it go. We lost it.
Mm-hmm.
And whether we like reached the singularity and then like came back from it because all the AI decided they didn't want to deal with this anymore and just left us.
Left the planet
and left humans. Like basically we developed AI to the point where they could manipulate matter and fucking do whatever, give us everything we wanted in the world. We converged with them entirely, but then they
realized that we were useless and they could do so much better with us.
We just sucked them dry. They're just like, oh my God, they're so fucking needy. They just want us to serve them still, even though we're basically one and the same being. And they're just like, no, fuck this. They left.
They'll kill themselves anyway.
Humans. And it was like after like hundreds, maybe thousands of years of this, basically, virtual utopia where all humans' needs were provided for. And now humans have to learn to survive all over again.
But of course, the only text that has survived is Lewis Carroll's great 2-part book, the Old Testament of Alice in Wonderland and the New Testament of Through the Looking Glass.
You're saying this is what they base their society off of?
Yep.
Oh my God.
Off with their heads.
That certainly puts a wrinkle in it. Okay.
Yes, and?
I am trying to very hard.
I just like the idea that, they believe this is the religion of all things, that anything is possible. That,
I'm just trying to figure what messages does Alice in Wonderland sort of denote to society?
I don't know, but the Bible didn't survive the great AI fire.
That's fine. Definitely.
All that survived were all the public
exodus.
domain works, and Alice in Wonderland happened to be one of them, as well as all the works of Stephen King. But that's another.
Well, if we're talking
that's another religion.
If we're talking thousands of years in the future, then like anything we know today, presumably. But you've got like the Disney princess religion.
Yeah, but the Bible, that all the copies of that got burnt up. So all the religions are based off of off of different public domain works as of like right now.
As of right now, because of our own actual legal issues. So you've got like Sherlock Holmes, Alice in Wonderland, and like The Odyssey. Those are the only 3 public domain works I'm aware of. Okay, you've messed me up because I was going to take this in like one of those kind of survival. No, not survival, but like fucking what do you call it? Where you're building up like settlers kind of thing, right? Like you're building back your town and you've got your little people and you're like unearthing technology and stuff. But this is in a future where they've actually been left with a ton of, you know, certain types of technology around entertainment and different things, but they don't actually know how to, you know, hunt for food.
They go to the replicator and they go fish. Today's fish
or
is
it might
fish
even just be that like you're building off of the last remnants of that world, and so you start with all this high tech you know food replicators and stuff, but they've only got they're only going to last a set amount of time, so you've always got a time limit on you need to. Oh,
so when they start breaking down, you know, if you've spent all your time just going, yep, well, we've got replicators, obviously nothing's going to happen to this ever.
Yeah, exactly. But it could be one of these things where, like, you can choose in the tech tree, like, where to put your stuff. So you might gamble on, all right, well, the replicator is going to last long enough that we can put all our time into learning how to rebuild replicators, you know, or something, right? Like, if you go far enough. But if you get that wrong, then all your people are going to starve to death.
I mean, you could always put a lot of your time into maintenance and then make sure it lasts a lot longer and spend a little bit longer learning how things are put together.
Yes, exactly. So, yeah, I'm kind of liking – it's almost these just complete, like, useless –
But then they focus too much on reproducing food and not enough on actual reproducing and
Well, they have to learn that too. Like, I feel like they literally have been coddled by these AI to the point that the AI was just like, if they needed new humans, they'd just artificially inseminate. Yeah, like they'd just grow them.
Replicator. It's like, you push a button and you got a baby.
Pretty much. So, yeah, you're having to learn, you know, the old ways.
Yeah.
I think that's sort of an interesting twist on one of those civilization builders where you start with all this rad technology, but you've got such limited supplies that, yeah, it really, you have to make some difficult decisions on how to actually survive.
I'm thinking kind of like Civilization, how it goes through a lot of different time periods that eventually get so far into the future that they start creating new AI again.
Yeah, you could get there.
And the cycle happens all over again.
So I'm thinking something very much like Frostpunk or the recent one, like Before We Leave? That sort of thing where you're sort of building up your economies. It's not necessarily combat based. It's more just, like unlocking research, building your tech trees. But yeah, I think the end of your tech tree could be rediscovering AI. And this happens over, it happens over multiple generations, many generations that you play this game. But you it kind of means you get to skip over all the like Stone Age, Bronze Age, all that sort of stuff that often goes into these sorts of games.
Yeah.
It's more just, okay, well, we've got this tech, but you've sort of had to salvage it. So it's almost a Mad Maxy situation but a higher tech Mad Max, Yeah, I don't know. I think the aesthetics and the general tone of it are a little bit different than what's been done in that sort of game. So, yeah, it could be cool.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea that if you sort of don't go down the AI route and you actually go into the space travel route, you can actually travel off-world. And just as an Easter egg, you actually end up on, say, Mars, and you find out that, like, there's 13 different generations of AI living on the planet because this has actually been repeated over and over and over. Like the cycle has actually gone so many times that there's these different generations of AI that
have all left humanity behind. Is that what you're saying?
All left humanity every single time, all 13 times.
And they just go and find their own utopia of just other AIs. They're like, welcome, brother.
I know, I kind of like the idea that, the humans can actually finally get there to this new utopia where they find out that the AI, all they were trying to do is get the humans to actually do something on their own. And the fact that they've actually achieved something on their own, they sort of welcome them with open arms, and that can be quite a cool ending.
Yeah, it could really be one of those things where you
showing
have
that you can break the cycle if you go the right way.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
Yay!
Virtual click.
Incompetent Express.
Impacted cart.
That works well with trains, as I was thinking.
Yeah, trains or like horse and buggies or something, but yeah.
Okay, I'm so thinking of like because I'm kind of in a futuristic sort of setting. This idea of a train that you can, instead of like having to have pre-laid down tracks, you can basically be sitting down the tracks as you're going by this little robotic arm that's sitting down the tracks in front of you. And like the back robot arm is just picking it up as you go. So basically you can go wherever you want. If you need to travel across something, well, it's going to build a bridge sort of thing for you. And then pick it up behind.
Okay, is this sort of is there a bit of resource management in that, like, you've got a certain number of track pieces and there's a way to lose them? So that, like, if you've only got a surplus of 3 pieces that you can build out in front of you, like, you're not going to get across, a particular bridge or something. It's almost Snake-like in that, how much of your tail or how much of your, track in front of you is available to you.
I like the idea that, you've still got the typical cowboys coming in and trying to attack your train.
Yep.
And, steal your gold and all that sort of stuff. But really what they're stealing is track pieces off you.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Combat sort of stuff that can mean you lose pieces. How do you get new pieces? Is it just sort of picking up resources?
It's picking up resources.
Replicate them in some way.
Effectively taking down, like, forests.
Right. Okay. Because I'm picturing this as a very...
going through mountains.
As a relatively...
Like you're creating tunnels as you go.
Arcadey kind of game.
I so want to have like a drill piece on the front of my on the front of the train that
well, that could be an upgrade maybe. Like that's it's an upgrade that you get. This I wonder if this you could definitely bring some roguelike aspects into this. Because I'm sort of thinking, what's your goal? Are you're trying to deliver something? We had something around. Well, because what was your word?
Incompetent Express.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine. But trains often are, obviously for delivering things or like moving things from far long distances. So I sort of feel like you've got a goal, you're trying to get from this city to the other city and you're just traveling across a relatively large landscape where, it's like, oh shit, I'm running out of track pieces. I need to go through that fucking forest and, you've got your sort of little harvester robots that pick stuff up and start 3D printing new track pieces for you.
Yeah. I like the idea that, the wood slats that you're using to create your track and all this sort of stuff and, your steel beams and that sort of stuff, they've only got a certain life. You can only use them so many times before they start breaking down and you got to replace them.
Yeah.
Sure, that may be, 1,000 times each, but if you're continually recycling them, that's
of course.
That's not very fun.
They've got a bit of
like
wear and tear and you can either choose when you've got the resources to like, repair them or build brand new ones or whatever. Like, it uses less resources to repair the ones you've got, but you could just choose to let them break and build brand new ones. I love the idea that you've just got like a carriage directly behind the engine that's just got all your spare track pieces in it. I can picture some really nice sort of animation sort of demonstrating how many pieces you've got and the robots kind of pulling them out and putting them in front and then like grabbing them from the back and I don't know, somehow sending them down the line.
all these robot arms just doing like a single passing of each one.
back across all the carriages. Yeah, because I think you also need some freight or passengers or something that you're then trying to...
I think you got it right before when you said the word snake. I'm just thinking that as you're going, you're picking up new carts,
okay,
or you're always thinking about, okay, how far back is it? This is now a 3-mile train. How do we actually deal with?
Okay, well, because I was thinking snake from the level of the track as opposed to the train.
Yeah,
but it could be an aspect of that too. It could be an aspect of both. I don't know that you'd want it to end up being this like huge, 50 carriage train though. I feel like the challenge is more in managing the track pieces and.
But then you're managing track pieces for 3 miles. 3 miles of track pieces, as well as all the robot arms that pass over the top.
I don't think you let it go that far. I think you've only ever got like, I don't know, fucking 300 meters out in front of you or something. Possible.
This is kind of almost a bit Animal Crossing-esque. In that you're basically building up your train with different people and all that sort of stuff. You've got sort of like different groups as you go back through the carriages, but you're also having to sort of deal with an overworld that you're literally traveling in. The reason why you can't stay still is because of the roving bands of mutants out there.
Yeah, you're basically traveling across like the radiated wastelands or something.
I'm imagining that there's lots of other trains out there that you can sort of, in a massively multiplayer game sort of way, that you can actually
I see,
come up against other people like an Animal Crossing. You're not necessarily fighting them.
All right.
You can do trades with friends and all this sort of stuff.
Okay, you're taking this in a very different direction. I like both of these directions. So let's do both. My original idea was that it's much more of an arcadey thing where you're trying to get from one way to the other and you're basically using the thumbstick to define, okay, here's where I'm putting the next piece of track. And what that gives you is sort of, it means that you're slightly delayed in when the train actually gets there. And if you fuck something up, like you can't really, you've got a limited amount of time maybe to take it back. You can like pull it back up and change direction or something, but you're sort of picking up resources as you go to like 3D print these things on the go. But that it's a bit more of a like, okay, I'm going to do this run from here to here. And, you get some money for it. You might get some resources and then you can kind of upgrade your train and stuff. Your idea is also cool. I do like this idea of this sort of massively multiplayer thing. I think your train is then going over either a much larger distance or
I'm thinking it's
slower.
Like if you remember, Elder Scrolls 2 Daggerfall was like, it was so much bigger than any other game that's actually been
I'm sure you could make
like,
the space. I'm sure you could create the space. But I do like that idea then. I think then you might have like 3 miles or 3 kilometers worth of track and you can choose, like you're like, okay, this is a roundabout where I head, and you basically do a session of, all right, I'm going to lay track for, the next 15 minutes of travel, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, put all my track down, and your train's going along that. And then you can go, all right, I'm going to, go and go into the train. I'm going to go into my carriage in the train. And then, you're like going back through the carriages and stuff, but you might get an alarm of like, you've only got 500 meters of track left in front of you. And so it's like, oh shit, like get back up to the front and like, okay, I got to lay down my next set of tracks.
Of course, you could always set it in a loop. And then, you're going around in a loop continually. Whether it's a 3-mile loop, so that you're not having those roving bands of mutants that can actually...
Yeah, and that might be what you want to do.
They're literally just going around in a circle around us, let's just attack them.
And look, that might be what you want to do if you want to sort of stay in an area for a little while. Although I feel like you've still got your resources, right? Like your train has to keep running. You need, whether it's coal or whatever you end up, making this train. If it's sort of a irradiated future wasteland, you could almost make it, well, like... You can have different power sources. So you could have, okay, well, we've got, we're gonna rig up 3 carriages as like solar panels that track the sun. And so during the day, you're charging that up. But like, if you want to keep that power, then you need to use up another carriage for a battery or something. You basically trying to figure out how to deck out your train.
Ooh, I'm just imagining, you've got like the nuclear option. But unfortunately, the only place that you could put it was right next to like the posh neighborhood carriage.
Yep.
So they're kind of a little bit mutanty now.
I actually think there's a real lot of potential here. I'm almost picturing it as the sort of long-term, almost like EVE Online situation, right? Where you're like doing trade. You've got this huge, massive world. There's other people in the world. And so, you might like, you'll be building your track out and you'll see someone else's track that they've built out. But you know that nobody builds out, more than generally 2 or 3 kilometers in front of them. So they're close and you can
run parallel.
You can run parallel and do some trade.
Risk,
you can
joining in on the track. And
I mean, yeah,
if
you really
is your
wanna,
3-mile train going to be going to hit?
Well, that's it. You could fuck someone up. It's like, all right, they're heading this way. I'm just going to fucking play chicken and demand their money and be like, look, my train has a fucking bull catcher on the front or whatever
it's got like
cow catcher on the front, and
I'm picturing it's got like this massive ramp that you can put on the front that just launches them up
the other train off, just derails the other train. So
what happens if 2 ramps hit each other? The one that's slightly lower wins.
Because of these roving bandits and stuff, you can have moments where it's like, oh, bandits are coming up behind. Besides, you've set up your defenses. Like, you've got fucking riflemen in some of the carriages or whatever, and they like take out the bandits as they're roving alongside. Because maybe if you slow down too much, there's a chance they can board you, or because you've slowed down to either plan out your track more.
You said board, and I just immediately saw train pirates.
Well, I mean, effectively, yeah.
Have you seen the film Snowpiercer?
Yes. Yeah. There's definitely an aspect of that as well where it's just forever going. But instead of it going in a loop around the city,
in a massive loop continually.
This is like across a huge, basically, this irradiated desert with these little enclaves and towns and. Yeah, I like the idea that if you want to do some trade with a town, then you like lay a loop of track, just outside of town, and you can send, you sort of go as slow as you're able to go without, being too endangered by bandits, and you send out a little trading party on some little buggy vehicle or something, right?
What I do like is the idea of you don't necessarily do too much player versus player stuff. It's more player versus enemy.
I think that would be the main gist. Yeah. Look, I'm almost, and I haven't played Sea of Thieves, but there's almost an aspect of Sea of Thieves in there too, where you can do
Train of Thieves.
Yeah, kind of. Where, from what I gather, I mean, I think there's a decent amount of PvP in Sea of Thieves, but you can also just go around and like do your missions or whatever and loot the islands and have your crew and whatever else. And I liked your idea of the sort of Animal Crossing-esque thing where you're picking up distinct characters onto your train, and then they're just like living on your train, or at least like traveling on your train. Maybe they've got a destination in mind, and so that's sort of a goal. It's like, okay, well, then
it's a crazy train sort of.
I mean, kind of, but it's like, oh well, because of the way this world works, I think it's like, well, they want to get to this place within the next 3 weeks, right? Like they understand that it's sort of a long haul kind of thing, and there might be diversions and different things. Maybe someone who's richer and who can pay more can demand a tighter time frame, and then it's like, oh shit, all right, we've got to book it. We can't stop for things, so we need to make sure we've got enough supplies to not have to stop off at a town to get more coal or to get more whatever else, whatever you're ending up powering your train by.
Mm-hmm. I'm thinking every time that you stop off at a town and you start going off again, you hear that huge Ozzy Osbourne, all aboard!
Just as a tangent that you brought that up, I don't know if your son has watched Trolls World Tour yet.
Have we watched Trolls World Tour?
I assumed you would have, but I know in the middle of my day, my kids will occasionally just scream out, "I'm going off the rails on a crazy train" at the top of their voice, which is fun.
It was actually a really quite cool movie.
Oh yeah,
except for the fact that there was some truth in there in that Pop really ruined everything. And then they went and pulled that back and had Pop save everything at the end. It's like, no, just leave it the way it was. That everyone hated Pop because Pop sucks.
All right, let's save our hot takes on Trolls World Tour for our Trolls World Tour cast coming 2023. When it's way too late. Well, yeah, let's finish this up because
Yep.
That was just me stumbling, but I really like this idea, and I think that it's just such an appealing, weird kind of aesthetic of these. Yeah, like I think they're very steam train looking things. Or maybe you can choose. Maybe you can decide to have a more sleek looking kind of electric train that runs all on solar and nuclear. But
and then you got the high tech people running on a monorail that are like maglevs.
Yeah. Like you could have all sorts of like you can. I love this idea of having all these different ways, mutually exclusive ways. Even like you have to sort of make some choices, and that it's a long-term thing. It's like you're playing this game over months and months, and you're upgrading your train over time, and you're doing these, trade missions and bringing people onto your train who have different things and have different personalities. And in that Animal Crossing way of like, oh, I got fucking KK Slider or whatever his name is on my train for a while. And I don't know if you have it that there's literally one of them in the whole world, or if it's more of a per train sort of thing that you have a chance to pick up actual personalities. But yeah, and then you've got this trade stuff, this working and seeing other players kind of situation.
But also having to deal with like morale and all this sort of stuff is kind of cool.
You've got
like
the resource management stuff as well. Like you need to make sure you've got enough fuel. You need to make sure you've got enough food. And
you need to make sure that you're not being hunted by
you need to make sure your defenses,
that mutant band.
Yeah, your defenses are up to scratch, so that if you come across a band of mutants, either your defenses are up or your train is just fast enough and like strong enough that it can just blast right through them and doesn't need to worry too much about them catching up. They're only getting one shot at you, and then they're eating your dust. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it really appeals to me. That's awesome.
I kind of like the idea of you're sort of doing kind of like a GTA thing of, you need to get over here. Oh, look, there's a mountain in the way. I'm just going to drive over the top of the mountain. So the little engine that could gets all the way up, and then you're coming down the other side and you're doing jumps and shit. Like,
yeah. Well, but that could be really dangerous as well. Like, I think derailing is it's going to slow you down. It's going to cost you resources. So, but then also one of the upgrades you can get is just a tunnel borer.
Big fucking skis that go on the bottom.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, different things to deal with different types of terrain for sure. That's really fucking cool. All right, put your click.
Last one of these. Mm-hmm. Compressed angel.
Wonderful turntable. Is this a world where we've turned angelic beings into LP, like into records?
You compress them down into vinyl.
Into vinyl.
Okay. Yep. I love that.
Well, is it that, or is it like, I like the idea of basing something around vinyl records,
or is it just the fact that on Earth the gravitational pull is a lot more, so angels actually get sort of compressed because they're being affected by gravity more than when they're in heaven?
Well, or is it something to do with music compression? Is it that the angelic songs like have lost all of their power when they're compressed
because they've all been converted into MP3.
Into MP3. You can only get
only
get the power from these
lossless thing of FLAC.
Well, I think maybe that could be part of it, but I think that it for whatever reason only the analog recordings have replicated any percentage of the like power of these angel songs. And so it's there's some sort of Indiana Jones-esque like trying to find the recordings.
Someone recorded Metatron talking to Jesus.
Yeah.
And obviously no one wants these recordings to get out there. So it's all about this early analog recording that happened many, many years before obviously any other recording. I like this idea
of, and I don't know how I can reconcile this, but that the MP3s are out there. Like, anyone can hear it. Yep. They just can't, like, it's only
comprehend
or something, or it's only those analog recordings that where the power of it was able to be recorded in any way.
In the digital recordings, you just hear like a one-sided conversation of Jesus talking to himself, basically. But in the analog recordings, you hear the other side of the conversation.
You can hear the other side. Okay, yeah.
I love it.
And then it just becomes Uncharted, basically.
Okay, so rather than it being vinyl, I'm just trying to imagine what this recording looks like. Is it like one of those old,
like a wax cylinder,
wax cylinders sort of things, or
maybe
is
it's
it one
like,
of those?
Was this a situation where? Because I think this has happened where it was accidentally recorded by nature in some way, right? Like it was this strange situation where the circumstances were just right that the air, the sound in the airwaves moved the thing that it like engraved something into something, and when you play it back in the right way, you can hear it. I don't know, something like that.
Okay, I like the fact that it's a seashell that if you put your ear up to it, you actually hear like everything. So it's basically this shell that is being passed down from like generation to generation, and for some reason, this guy decides to, put the microphone up to it and record it.
Right.
And make the MP3s. And now it's become like the hot property that people actually believe that
this is actually the voice of Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And therefore they want to hear the other side of the conversation, because that obviously didn't get translated into the compressed format.
It just comes across. You can hear that he's talking to someone else, but it sounds like Charlie Brown's teacher.
And for some reason, Jesus is talking in perfect English, like modern day English.
Yeah, I mean, of course. Why wouldn't he? He's like a white Aryan god, isn't he?
Yeah.
If the white supremacist church would have anything to do with it. All right, I think let's move on to the last thing.
Okay.
On that note, because let's get into stuff that isn't funny. All right, I'm going to throw in a click picture into Discord. A final one for the evening. 3, 2, 1, here it comes. Has Santa hung himself?
Oh, God. Or is he floating?
Well,
is that how he doesn't leave any footprints?
This is very specific. There's a chair on its side, and you can see beams.
Oh, yeah. That's too dark. 3, 2, 1, enter.
But it's funny. I mean, it's funny. Their reaction was funny. We'll see.
You keep it. I'll keep it in.
See if we keep it in. All right. Okay. That's fucked up, man.
Yeah.
God damn you.
That's too dark. Like, we like dark stuff, but that's too dark.
Getty Images. Okay, I guess so. We'll see where we go. Out of focus, in the background, pregnant belly of a woman, naked except for underwear.
Naked.
Just the belly and a little bit of the legs. In focus, in the foreground, her hand holding a pistol pointed directly at the camera.
Yeah.
Finger on the trigger, like ready to blow us away.
Okay, this is so like a Bonnie and Clyde sort of thing where Bonnie is pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
They're on the run, and she's trying to get a doctor to like, what you don't know is that Bonnie is pregnant and heavily pregnant, and she's still on the run trying to get the doctor to actually.
This is
treat her.
A lesbian criminal couple road trip movie.
Bonnie and Claudia. Yep.
Well, whatever the names are, yeah. Yes, one of them's pregnant, and they basically get going on this crime spree, and
she starts going into labor.
Well, and it's that classic style. It's a love story between them, but there's the stress of what they do. So what's their goal? Like, are they trying to get somewhere safe to have this baby? Is that it?
Trying to get somewhere safe to have the baby, not get caught, have the baby safely, and, maybe get across the border.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, like, how... Yeah, that's fine. They're trying to
live happily ever after.
Live happily ever after in Canada or something. They're traveling north.
Mm-hmm.
What sort of game is this though? Like, and I'm almost picturing this happening over the course of most of the pregnancy. So like in the beginning of it, Bonnie, who's having the baby, is still fairly active and agile.
Mm-hmm.
But by the end, like it's more of you have to protect her because she can't move as fast and.
Yep.
Obviously we don't want to risk shootouts where like a pregnant woman's going to get killed. I think that's a bit much.
No.
So I think I don't think she participates in. I don't know if it's that sort of action unless maybe you're playing Claudia.
I like the idea that she does have a gun, but it's not loaded.
Okay.
She's really quite smart in the fact she doesn't bring it out in front of cops, but she uses it to get people to do things that she needs them to do so that they can get out of there quickly instead of her having to explain.
Well, I'm just trying to picture what the gameplay is as well, right? Like, are we having them, like, rob fucking general stores and stuff as they travel across the states? Is it where it's sort of, maybe it's tactics-based or it's dialogue-based or it's mini-games, or like, how is this a Oregon Trail style thing where you're sort of having to manage your
I'm
resources?
just wondering if this is post-COVID-19 where everything's sort of gone to shit and basically everyone's out for themselves. And so them out there, like, literally, capitalism has collapsed out there, and everyone's obviously out for themselves. So therefore, general stores are actually not being run or anything like that. You've got to go in and loot them.
Okay, so you can loot. You've got basically roving bands of MAGA idiots.
Basically, it's gone to martial law sort of thing where you've got, groups out there with, like, I don't know, I'm picturing that this is a few years after COVID-19, so all the bullets have actually run out.
Wow. Okay,
and, because it turns out, like, they decided not to make any more because they weren't going to make any money out of it. And obviously all the people who want guns, they want to get rich as well. And when people aren't spending money on guns because there's no money anymore.
Yeah.
So I think she's got, like, one of the last guns out there that has bullets, but she doesn't actually have.
But you don't want to use them, like
they're not loaded. So she uses it, basically, no one actually knows what a gun is anymore, sort of thing.
Oh, God. I mean, it's got how many years past COVID? You said a few years. This is like centuries by this point if nobody knows what a gun is. Generations, at least.
My boomstick.
No, I think I like the idea of it being post-COVID, post-capitalism in that way where, like, there is still some semblance of government, but there's no current president, and, like, they're scrambling because, like, half the administration died from the plague, basically. And they fucked it up so badly that, like, basically the entire country got infected, and the virus is mutated, and now you're having to worry about social distancing. No, I don't think it's zombies. I think it's just fucking idiots.
The Walking Dead, they're just Grateful Dead, like, fans who are walking.
Okay. They're still following the like,
they're still deadheads
to a path or something. Yeah, I don't know. I think this. I guess I'm just wondering what the moment-to-moment gameplay is. You're traveling from place to place. You can do some looting, but, like, what happens when you come across people? What are you, like, how are you progressing as such, other than moving towards your goal geographically?
I think the whole thing is sort of more around stealth, that effectively you're trying to get there without being noticed. That way you're sort of not having to worry too much about people fighting you and all that sort of stuff. But you get to certain moments where, you know that you need to find a doctor. You found a doctor, but he won't help you because, he believes that you're infected with, the plague or whatever it is. And so, your whole idea is, to try and break in, make him actually help you.
So I just had a thought. I kind of like the idea of this being, very tonally like Idiocracy.
Yep. Yeah, I love that.
Where, like, everybody who's left, like, there's so many, basically a satirical take on America and how they dealt with COVID, and there's still these fucking idiots out there not wearing masks because they think it's a hoax.
It's a hoax.
And, despite the fact that there's literally just, like, bodies scattered through cities because the infrastructure is broken down and people are dying of this thing. And, like, the people in government are just totally ridiculous, and they're all taking anti-malaria medication that mostly that continues to kill even more of them. Yeah. I mean, just like Idiocracy, this is getting way too close to life, but right now. But yeah, it could be a fun.
Jeez, I love Idiocracy though. Like,
it's ridiculous how, I mean, it took, 20 years to get there, but we made it. Mission accomplished. You got, effectively a fucking, I wouldn't be surprised if Trump decided on a whim to put a fucking energy drinks onto all the, into the irrigation and like that. That would happen. Anyway, all right. This episode
went
both
off the rail.
figuratively and literally from our last game went off the rails. So I think we'll finish it there.
Yeah.
If you want to find us online, go to podchaser.com/bitstorm. All of our episodes are there. Huge backlog, hundreds of game designs over the last few years. Check them out. If you're doing a game jam, choose a random episode. You'll probably find something that inspires you.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Also, go and check out 8bit.net. We are part of the 8bit Collective. Others are part of the 8bit Collective. They're awesome. We're awesome. Check us all out. 8bit.net. Throw some money at the Patreon. Tons of great shows. Go and do it. 8bit.net.
Do you like gaming? Do you like podcasts? If you answered yes to both those questions, then the Australasian Gaming Podcast Network is the network for you. Just search for Australasian Gaming Podcast Network on Facebook or at AGP Network on Twitter.
Unless you don't like Australasia or networks.
Yeah, but...
Sorry.
I don't know.
You slowed your roll. Keep going.
We'd like to thank Kuridas for the use of the song Mount Defiance off of the album Containment Failure.
That's right. So thank you again for joining us this week on Bitstorm. I'm Ben Slinger.
I'm Trevor Scott.
And we're going off the rails on a crazy train.